What's up, Deadheads? It's Brian Castrillo, and I want to talk about Fear the Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 5, More Time Than You Know. And my goodness, this movie was heartbreaking. It was beautiful, and it was just badass. So many elements all in one. And we're just continuing from the last episode where we had Grace and Morgan. And I gotta say, Lenny James and Karen David were putting on an acting clinic, because both of them were amazing, and they were amazing in this episode as well. But we're starting. We already know that Grace has been bitten, and Morgan and Dwight and Sherry and Mo, they're trying to escape, and we got more people from Padre shooting at them. Shrike is on the walkie-talkie, and one thing that was interesting to me, and tell me if you guys caught this, I don't remember walkers being mentioned really throughout Fear the Walking Dead, with the exception of Morgan early on. But I don't think Shrike ever mentioned calling him a walker. She always called him Carrion. That's what they've been in this episode, which I think is a great name for zombies, basically. But Shrike mentioned how many walkers that Morgan killed in Atlanta, which I thought was really interesting. But then she goes on to say that she will basically allow Grace to get treatment if Morgan is willing to kill the carrion at the shipyard. So she reverted right back to carrion. But I thought it was interesting how she mentioned walkers. Like, where I didn't realize she used that terminology. But if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. And then of course she asked him to clear, which I thought it was great that, you know, she used that terminology. And we see, you know, she's trying to, you know, get this treatment. She's talking to June so June can help her. And Daniel, he comes back saying he's armed and ready, but Shrike said no weapons at all. Which at that point, Daniel's like, well, then it's a no-go. Because Shrike says there's elements within the shipyard in these containers that she doesn't want to get damaged, because these are, you know, going towards the new beginning, which I believe this is the start to the CRM. I believe there's some sort of element that this is going to connect to the CRM that we know, like in World Beyond. This is basically kind of like the beginning. That's my little prediction. Now, Grace finally tells Mo that she has cancer. She doesn't have a lot of time to live, and this is really heartbreaking, because Grace thought she was going to be able to, Mo thought she was going to be able to save her mom, Grace. So that little heartbreaking moment. But then Mo's like, you know what, we're gonna fight no matter what, even if it's for one more day. And that's what I love about her spirit. She for whatever moment she has left with her, she wants to fight with her. And Grace wants to go to these coordinates, to a repeater station, because she just wants to basically enjoy her final moments with her family, instead of trying to go on this journey to get this maybe, you know, cure, which to me is odd. The whole thing about a cure is odd, but I understand if you look at the World Beyond, this could be the beginning. That's why I think maybe June started these treatments that, you know, we see going in World Beyond, you know, the who's an A and a B. But now we see, you know, they're trying to escape. Dwight and Sherry offer to be decoys to try and help Mo, you know, get Grace to get sickness, but Finch is sick. And June's basically saying that she gave him a small dose because she didn't want to really hurt him. But Grace, being exposed to that radiation, she might have a chance. And they're basically going to, if Grace can withstand it, then they're going to give more to Finch, because he's young. She didn't know if he could handle that much radiation. I thought it was interesting. Mo gets on one of those rail carts, you know, like, I always think of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, like, but I thought that was kind of cool. But she eventually gets stopped by Dove right before the train. And of course, Shrike, you know, catches her. And, well, Dove catches her, but she's in there and she's trying to help Grace, because she's basically bringing Grace to this station where June had helped Finch prior. And she eventually gets in there. Dove lets her go, and she and doesn't really fight her on it. But she's realizing that she can't help, she can't help Grace, because she needs help from June. And then Dove and her people, you know, they shoot in the air to attract the carrion, and they're coming in, but she's trapped. And then Morgan rather, he's saying, I'm coming. And he wants to help save, you know, Grace, and these are the last moments, but Grace is eventually she's getting way too sick, and eventually she passes. And this is absolutely heartbreaking to see Grace finally gone. And by the way, Grace was one of the coolest looking walkers, carrying, you know, whatever you want to call them, in the entire TWD universe. They did an amazing job with her makeup, but absolutely heartbreaking. This is reminiscent to me of Ophelia. Remember how Madison was trying to get Ophelia back to Daniel, who was trying to catch up to her? Same thing with Morgan, trying to fight these walkers to get to, you know, his love of his life, Grace. And exactly at the last minute, right before Morgan gets there, Grace passes, and she's trying to attack little Mo. And I thought she was gonna, you know, kill Mo, but eventually Morgan comes in, you know, gets her in the back, and he's able to save his little daughter from, you know, the zombified Grace, which again, last second heroics for Morgan. But this also kind of reminded me of Jim, if you remember from season 1 of The Walking Dead, how Jim was basically slowly deteriorating. He was getting sick and you know, his bones were brittle. And this is kind of like the whole trajectory is what Grace's sickness is kind of reminding me of, because everybody has different time frames of which they turn into a walker. And this was very reminiscent of that for me. But also the in her final moments, it was just kind of beautiful, because Grace got to spend those last moments with her daughter Mo, and telling her and just giving her advice to go on, and tells her that you've given us more time than you know, because Mo thought she basically had little time, but because of Mo, Grace was saying how you gave us reason to live. You gave us a reason to go on. Because if you remember back to the previous season where Grace and Morgan were willing to essentially unalive themselves in the sub during the you know, when Teddy was going to drop the bombs, Grace basically mentions that she gave her more time than you know, which is the title of the episode. So absolutely beautiful moment, but heartbreaking. And that's why I compare that beautiful moment to when Tyrese died, because if you remember that, that was another beautiful moment, although equally as heartbreaking. But Grace, I just want to say you are one of my favorite characters in there. You are, you know, beautiful, smart, tough, badass, and you always put family first. You are an amazing character. And Karen David, you have done a phenomenal job as Grace, and I'm going to miss you on the show. And you are an amazing person. You've recently followed me on Twitter and Instagram, which totally made my day. I hope someday I get to meet you. But thank you for everything that you have given to Fear the Walking Dead. R.I.P. Grace. And thank you, Karen, for everything. You're an amazing person.